The video you're about to see will cause lots of controversy, and although it may appear that I don't like Apple, that is not necessarily true. As a matter of fact, I own several Apple products, including the new iPad, or third generation iPad as some of you like to call it. I started creating these videos several months ago. It was going to be a 6-part mini-series since it would be over an hour long. Due to my busy schedule, I'm only going to release a very small portion of it here. The reason I wanted to create this video is because my first smartphone was an Android. After using Android for over a year, I would often read articles on how the iPhone was still better and how it just works and how the apps are more polished and iOS is more intuitive. So after the iPhone 4S came out, I decided to trade my Android for an iPhone. Mind you, I was very familiar with iOS since I had already owned an iPad. After using the phone for about a week, I began to become frustrated. Doing simple tasks on my Android were not so simple on the iPhone. Apps were more limited and I couldn't do things that the Android version could. The customization wasn't there. Sure, I could jailbreak my phone, but I didn't need to root my phone on Android to get the customization that I wanted, and it really just works. This video shows a few examples of about over 100 that I recorded on exactly what I am talking about. Remember, at the end of the day, you choose what works best for you. But when I hear the hardcore Apple fans say how Android is difficult to use and how iOS is much better, I often wonder if they actually really tried using an Android phone, or maybe, just maybe, they like to take extra steps in accomplishing things that I think should be simple. Again, I like simplicity, and as you can see my phone in front of you, it's customized the way I like it.
So one thing that I really like is the customization that Android has to offer. For example, I have an email here from Verizon of an upcoming UFC fight. If I'm using the iPhone, which I like the Dolphin browser better than Safari, when I click the link to see this fight, I am forced to use Safari. There's no other way around it. I can't customize it to load up my Firefox or whatever browser I decide. I would have to copy the URL, okay, and then I would have to come back to Dolphin, paste it because I like Dolphin better, okay. Now if I did that again, that's really cumbersome. It would take forever. With the Android, I could just click on this link and it'll ask me, what browser do you want to use? Do you want to use the default browser or the Dolphin browser? And I can always set use by default for this action, so it won't ask me again. It'll just by default use it. And here I can again look at my link through the Dolphin browser the way I want to do it, the customization that I like. Here I'm looking at the In-N-Out website and I'm searching for a location where I want to go eat. So I found one here in La Mirada. If I wanted to drive to this location, I hold this down but nothing happens. I want to copy this address, or I want to have it take me to maps. Again, nothing happens. So in theory, I would have to copy this address, load up a navigation app like Waze, and once again, it would take too many steps. With Android, looking at the same page, all I would have to do is hold that down, and it would ask me, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to open it with Earth? Do you want to open it with Maps or Waze? So I can just drive to with the Waze, or let's just see what it looks like in Maps. And then from here, it's going to pinpoint me my direction, okay? And I could say, okay, I know where that's at. Perfect. Let me go ahead and I can either call, I can again map it out, look at directions, okay? So if I click on directions, I can say from my location to there, let's go ahead and navigate, okay? And easily everything is there for my current location, and you know, I can go to In-N-Out without having to go through so many copying, pasting, and so many different apps like the iPhone. Android is always getting beef on the way it works and functions. I mean, let's face it, the iPhone is a 5x4 grid. I mean, how bad can you really screw this up? This is it. There's nothing more to it than just that. Just a screen full of icons. With Android, you get much more. You get dedicated screens where you can customize your apps and widgets, but most importantly, there's no cluster like this. I mean, when you start working with a lot of apps, everything becomes cluttered. Sure, there's folders, but then again, it's not smart like this. You have apps, you have widgets, and it's just much more easier to work with. So for example, if I wanted to have a widget of, let's say, YouTube, I can easily, without having to open up any other application, like for example YouTube, to see videos, I can just, let's see, let me drop it over here. I think I have it open right here. This will load up a list of all of my subscribed videos on YouTube. So from here I can just do this or go back. You know, with the iPhone, I would have to load up the app, YouTube, and then of course I would have to go to my subscription, and then again, it's just more steps. Here I can just, everything is just nice. There's my clock. As you can see, I can't tell time. I need 3 different clocks, here, here, and there. Okay, weather. It's just so, it's really beautiful. With iOS, if I want to search for something, whether it's online or on the phone somewhere, I would have to swipe all the way to the left, and then there's my search. This searches like contacts and all your information. It kind of it's a consolidated search. With Android, it doesn't matter what page I am. All I have to do is click on this top Google search bar up there, and here it even gives me a history of what I've searched for before. Like, once again, making it very easy, and most importantly, making it really quick to find. One of the things I really hate about iOS is the inconsistency of applications. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if I load up Safari, and let's say it's going to take me to the last website I loaded. If I want to go back, the back button is down here, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. So mentally I have to know that if I'm browsing the web, the back button is going to be here. But now let's say I go to YouTube, okay, and I wanted to go back. Wait, where do I go? Now I would have to come up here to go back. You know, if I click, let's say on this video, end of... One thing I also hate is that why did it rotate this way when I'm doing this? Once again, you know, it's very annoying, and it just switched right now. So if I want to go back, I'd have to go up here. And I've noticed that with apps. Sometimes the back button's up here, sometimes the back button's up here. I mean, I've seen them all over the place, and I hate that inconsistency. With Android, the back button is always down there. So if I go to a website, and let's say I click here, coffee, but I want to go back. Really simple. It's right here. I just go back. Okay, let me go back to the home screen. If I open up a YouTube video, let's say this Scarlet X from YouTube, and let's say I go to related, and let's say I go back to this contraband, right? But I want to go back to the video. Not a problem. The back button's right there. Okay? So with Android, you get the consistency of the button being dedicated to back, and knowing that every time you use an application, if you want to go back, it's right here. With iOS, developers can do whatever they want, and they really ruin the experience of the operating system. One thing that really bothers me about iOS is that it's not a true multitasking operating system. It isn't any different than BlackBerry's operating system when it comes to, quote, multitasking. There's a lot of applications, and due to time restraints on this video, it's going to be very long. You know, I've ran into applications where the application is, let's say, downloading something, and then let's say I leave that application to go watch a YouTube video, then the downloading stops on that application, which is, what the heck? I thought it was multitasking. It doesn't do that. You know, this is also annoying that in order to supposedly close apps, you have to do all this, and can be very, very cumbersome, okay? Once again, Android. If I want to close apps, all I have to do is this, and I can just swipe away, left, right, easy. And this is a true multitasking system. I can have 5 applications running at the same time, downloading different things. Not so with iOS. In some cases, certain apps do work, but in most cases, I've come to realize, or I've seen, that it does not work. It actually pauses the application in order to let the other one run. So once again, this is not a true multitasking operating system. The thing about Ice Cream Sandwich is that it has unified the tablet and smartphone together. Unlike iOS, if you've ever used an iPad, you'll notice that the icons on the iPad are really spread apart. The iPad can easily hold 5 icons across, but because in theory you could say it's like a giant iPod, you know, again, it's kind of one of those things that it's annoying. When I grab the iPad and I see how spread apart the icons are, it looks to me like a system that was not thought out. And that's not the same case with Android. If you ever played with an Android tablet, you'll notice that it fits as many icons depending on the resolution. So once again, with Ice Cream Sandwich, it has brought them even more closer together, and including these phones that have 720p resolutions, which makes sense. I don't understand why Apple uses the resolution that they use, but 720p is what's being used, including high definition 1080p, widescreen. This is more television based on the aspect ratio. So take your pick. Adding a custom ringtone to iOS is insane. You have to do all these weird tweaks in order for it to make it work. You just can't drop MP3 files into a folder and assign them like Android. When I first started using iOS, it took me like an hour to finally figure out how to do it. You have to like convert a file into iTunes, and then it becomes a tone, and it's crazy. It's unbelievable how cumbersome it is. With Android, it just works. You just drop in an MP3 file, you assign a ringtone, and that's it. If you're a heavy Google user, meaning you use Google products, then Android is also the way to go. For example, here I'm showing you my bookmarks that are automatically synced from Google Chrome. So anything I sync on my desktop, all of my bookmarks, history, saved pages are also going to be synced here on my phone. So once again, you know, the experience is going to be much more better on an Android device versus an iOS device.